Hi, everybody. Welcome to Career Launch. You will notice that for the first time, I don't have a co-host with me. So we're going to see how this goes, just me doing it by myself. I want to welcome everybody. I'm so excited for this episode. We have some really great guests, some really great content. We're going to have Catherine Byers-Breet with us, who is a phenomenal, not only recruiting professional, but now she works helping job seekers and has her own show as well. Ira Bauman of Project Help You Grow, who is really cool human being as well. Of course, Michaela McCord will be here, and we're going to have some special animal guests during Michaela's segment. We're all very excited about that. And then we're going to have Robert Watts come on and talk to you about some very interesting things that he's been working on as well. But first, because this show is about problem solving, one of the biggest problems, guys, that's coming up is we're coming into the slowest hiring season of the year, right? The holiday season grinds to a halt. It's just something that we can't avoid. And with this heated election, that's not helping anything, let me tell you. A lot of people are taking time off this time of year, that kind of thing. But for the smartest candidates out there, you're not going to take time off like most of the other guys are. Most candidates are going to be like, oh, they're not going to get back to me anyway. I'm just going to stop. I'm not going to worry about it. Don't do that. All right, guys, this is the time to actually pick up your search, and you need to get creative about it. Okay. This is a time to take that personal aspect and really apply it. This is a time to show who you are and why they should really hire you, and to do some things that are going to make people happy to actually talk to you. Okay. This is the holidays. You're supposed to be cheery, right? I know it's kind of hard sometimes. I get that. And even my home state of Texas, they're freezing cold right now, and I know nobody's in a mood to do anything. But guys, this is a perfect time to warm people's hearts. So a few suggestions that I have that are very specific. Number one, send e-cards to some hiring managers for whom you really want to work. Okay, so dig through, get their emails, and that's, by the way, it's a pretty easy piece of information to get. You can connect with people on LinkedIn to get that, company directories, things like that. Get the hiring manager's email, okay, and go ahead and just create a very nice, simple e-card that's just Merry Christmas, or Happy Holidays, however you want to say it. I wish you the best. Say something very specific to them, and then just sign it with your name and maybe a link to your LinkedIn, or say your name and your hopeful candidate, and then your LinkedIn, or a link to your profile or website or whatever you have. That's a great way to reach out to people. It makes them smile, makes them happy. They get this nice card. And then it's just, oh yeah, this is also a candidate. Maybe I should check them out. That was such a kind thing that they just did for me. That works. I've actually talked to several people that had great success with that plan. Another one that's been wildly successful: hold an event. Your own event. I know. It's nerve-wracking. Everybody's going, oh, Catherine, I can't hold my own event. Yes, you can. You could do it online or in person if you're comfortable and you're in an area where COVID's not so bad. Just have a Zoom meeting, something like that, and target people that would be the kind of person that would hire you. So do an event. Let's say you want to be an HR generalist. Hold an event for HR people and have a topic that's very relevant to them and a networking kind of component to it, and just bring everybody together. And you don't have to talk the whole time, okay? You put it together, and you can bring somebody else on to talk if you want to. It's not that hard to find speakers. Everybody likes to hear themselves talk, all right? So, well, most people do anyway. So hold an event and invite the kind of people. You can do it on LinkedIn, by the way. You can invite people on LinkedIn. You can get email addresses and invite people however you want to do it. Facebook is another great way to hold events like that. Get people to come and engage with you. And believe me, that's the kind of thing that makes you stand out. You'll start getting all kinds of offers and all kinds of invitations. Another thing to do, guys, during this holiday season, because people are taking time off, they're waiting to interview, that kind of thing, but they do still have open positions, okay? So if you see a job that you really want to work, find the hiring manager or find the HR person, either way, and send them an email and say, hey, I've got a great candidate for you for this role. It's me. And tell them a little bit about yourself and say, I know that you're busy. I get that. I understand that. I know the holidays are coming up. I'd love to get on your calendar for the first of the year. And that way you get an interview, but you're not bothering them. You're not making them, step out of their comfort zone. You're giving them time to get through everything they're trying to do to wrap up the end of the year, that type of thing. So do things like that. Reach out and notice that entry, by the way, that intro that I gave you. Be creative, be cute with the intro, make them laugh. I just saw a video yesterday. It was the cutest thing. Anna Morgan got on, and I can't remember the name of the show that she was on. Forgive me, but she was terrific. And they did this whole Halloween Little Mermaid themed thing for job seekers, and it was hilarious. And it really caught attention, and people gravitated towards that, and just thought it was wonderful. And they stayed tuned in as opposed to just scrolling through because of that. So do funny little things. Do things that are holiday related. Do things that are jokes. Tactful jokes. I'm going to put that out there. Tactful jokes. That kind of thing. And just reach out to people and catch their attention right away. Be creative about that kind of thing. Another thing, guys, attend holiday parties. A lot of organizations will host big parties that are actually open to the public. A lot of larger organizations do things like that. Get an invite. Or if you know somebody that works for a company that you would like to join, be their date. Go in, start meeting people, mingle. Let them know, hey, I am the perfect fit for you by being there, by being present for them. So attend holiday parties. And kind of my last tip on this note is, guys, be charitable. Okay. And that sounds like, well, how's that going to help me if I'm being charitable? It will. Okay. When you are out there and you are volunteering and things like that, you will get noticed. So if you want to work for a company that's big on Toys for Tots, reach out to them and say, hey, I would like to volunteer. I know that you do work with Toys for Tots. I would really like to help you out with that, help gather the toys, or have a box at this location at my home or whatever to help you out with this. And that gets you an in with that company. It's a creative way to get an in with that company. Okay, so let's kind of rehash that real quick. So send things like e-cards to hiring managers and to HR people that are greeting them for the holidays, and then just at the very, very bottom, put your name and something along the lines of your hopeful candidate, and then like a link to your LinkedIn or something like that. Don't make it all about being a candidate, just happy holidays with that very simple signature. Next, hold an event. Even if you're not the primary speaker, that is perfectly fine. Okay. You can have somebody else come on and speak, but you should be the organizer and you should do the intro, and it should be very much obvious that you coordinated this. That kind of thing, you can do it on Facebook, LinkedIn, however you want to do it. Okay. But hold an event that is relevant to the people that you are targeting. Okay. Then the other thing, holiday parties, get an invite to one, be somebody's date, find one that's open to the public, and just show up and get to know people, mingle with them. If you're an introvert, no problem, guys. Get you an extrovert to go with you. That'll be like your wingman, okay? And do the same thing for networking events, by the way, guys. Have an extrovert take you and be your wingman and be the one to kind of start the conversation for you, and then you take it from there. And then finally, fundraisers and charity events. This time of year, this is a great way to get an in with companies. Volunteer with them, reach out to them. Trust me, that will be fruitful for you in ways that you can't imagine. And one of our guests is going to come on early. I'm so excited. So we have Miss Catherine Byers-Breet in the wing in our little waiting room, and I cannot wait to bring her on. But let's just get her on here, Nina. I don't need to intro her. Hey.
Good morning. You got to be kidding me. I love telling people about wingmen. I love it that you were talking about this morning. It's so helpful.
Yes, it is. And by the way, we have a little lag on you. Just maybe give it a second to kind of catch up. But yeah, I this wingman thing works, and I preach that all the time. If you're an introvert, if you're a quiet person, get somebody loud and obnoxious like me to take you to or Kat to take you to one of these events and kind of be your hype man. Yeah. Seriously, it works.
We love it too, us extroverts. If we've got a mission, like if Catherine and I were to go to an event together and it was all about her for the night and I was hunting for opportunities for her, I have so much more fun. So people will love to do that with you.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, get you a salesperson that you know or something like that. Just somebody that will go out and represent you well and will just start the conversation and then you take it from there.
Yeah,
It works.
it
So
does.
we're talking about creative solutions for the holidays because the holiday season, as you and I know, grinds to a halt in hiring, but it's still there, right? So what are some creative solutions you would have for job seekers right now?
Well, one of my most popular talks is called Happy Holiday Handshaking. And it's tough this year, right? You don't have ugly
Mm.
sweater parties that you can go to. So, but, my biggest advice for people is get on it, lean in, because the rest of the job seekers are giving up and they're waiting till
Yes.
January. Did you already
Mhm.
say this?
I didn't know,
Um,
but keep going. It's fine.
Okay. The problem is everybody else is hanging up their boots. And then
Mm.
in January, the floodgates open. And so your competition in November and December is like a little bit. And then in January, the floodgates are open. So do it now, lean in. And then there's a secret little insider secret about the holidays. People are more generous with their time. So networking is always like, if you're new to it, especially if you're an introvert, it's uncomfortable and scary. But during the holidays, people are much more likely to say yes to a phone call, yes to a virtual coffee. And if you're living in Florida, like Catherine, they might even meet you outside for a cup of coffee, like in real life. So um, the holiday spirit is going to be bigger and better this year,
Mhm.
despite the noise. People are going to be more human. Take advantage
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
They would love to help
100%.
you. They'd love to help you. And there's so many things to talk about. Don't talk politics. Don't talk religion. Ask them if they're going to the holidays parade. Ask them what they do for fun over Thanksgiving. So
Mhm.
many easy conversation or openers before you tell them you're looking for a job. So please
Right.
don't start with, I need a job. That doesn't work.
It does not. It doesn't. And don't get me wrong, I'm a very direct person, so I admire the direct approach. I appreciate the direct approach, but it very seldom works. And one thing I've actually been doing, folks, just for my own educational purposes, I've been getting on LinkedIn and going, okay, what does it take to actually get people to start a conversation with you? So I started with like 4 different types of messages. I sent them all out. The 2 that got the best response were the direct approach, which only got 1 positive response. And then the 2 of my versions got completely ignored. And then the last one that was just very conversational and just, hey, I'm just networking with you. Hey, what's up? Got great response. Started some real conversations. And by the way, with people that may turn out to be clients of mine at some point. So
Yes.
yeah, so it really be conversational. She's 100% right. The things that did not work at all, by the way, I tried the, hey, here's, this bit of information. I thought it might help you because people keep telling me that works. It doesn't.
No.
Nobody cares.
No.
Yeah.
We're all, I don't know what is happening on LinkedIn. I think it's a bunch of marketing firms that are saying, I'll get you leads. It's aggressive. It's in your face, which is such a mistake because LinkedIn makes it so easy. Like you can't throw a stick at somebody's LinkedIn profile without finding some common ground. So my advice is before you ask for anything or pitch anything, find common ground. Hey,
Yes.
Catherine and I are mutual connections. So if
Mhm.
you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, say, hey, Catherine McCord? Yeah.
Yeah.
Instant,
Yeah.
instant good juju. Like I instantly am like, yeah. So
Yes.
mutual connections. You went to the same
Comment.
school. You're both
Yes.
scuba divers. You both are writers. You both are authors. You both worked for an old
You
company.
like their post. You
Yes.
like their post. Yes.
Stroke
Comment on their post first.
stroking egos always works.
100% of the time, let me tell you, it does. Yeah, but just find a way to connect people. I know it's more time consuming, but it's not as much as you might think. So I did that too. I decided to say, okay, how long does this really take? So I did what you're saying. I just kind of went through a profile real quick, looked at some activity. It took me literally 11 seconds to locate something that I had in common with somebody and then just send a quick message. So, and from start to finish, this process took me less than 30 seconds to find something I had in common and to message that person.
Yeah, and just make it personal.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. You and I have been recruiting for years, and back in the day, it was all buttoned up suits, high heels, formal.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want that anymore. They want to
Nope.
know that you are a human being that you eat lunch and occasionally burp. And I mean, they want to know that you're human. So be human first. I
Yes.
promise you, if you
Yes.
find something in common and just start a little conversation, they will be willing to go out of their way to chat with you and help you in whatever it is.
Yes. And on to kind of start to segue into your actual topic today. And by the way, thank you for coming on earlier. We had a guest that had a catastrophe, and Catherine was very generous and decided to join us early. So one of the things that's really interesting to me that a lot of people miss is that you can spot a bad boss or a bad company during the initial messaging and just by paying attention to what's on their page and their posts and things like that. And a lot of people don't realize that. So as you're going through, so I'm going to start this, and then I'm dying to hear your take, but there's one thing that really gets me. And it's so obvious that when you hear it, you go, oh my gosh, right. And that's if all of their posts are self-centered, whether it's about the company or about them and yay me, I'm so great. You don't want to work for that. That is not a person that is, or a company that is going to help you grow as a professional. That is not useful. So what are some of your other, as you're looking on LinkedIn or looking on job boards even, what are some of the big red flags that go, whoa, do not want to work here?
You know, it's interesting. I usually say to people, you can't judge a book by its cover. Don't give up until you've had at least one conversation with them. But I actually love what you're saying. I hadn't actually thought about that, but you're right. If everything they do, it's all about them, run for the hills, because they'll be a star stealer. You'll be a rock star at work, and you'll save the company $3.5 million, and they'll somehow find a way to take credit for it. So you're absolutely right about that. But in those conversations, if they are aggressive and it's all about them, so once you start talking, if they never ask you, hey, how are you doing? Or how can I help you? If it's all about them in those conversations, that's a red flag.
Yes.
If they're really aggressive, so let's talk about recruiters and throw them under the bus a little bit. I got a call from somebody a couple of months ago, and he had a job offer from a company he wasn't sure he wanted. And the recruiter, so he was going through an external recruiter. And he was considering the offer, but he wanted a night to sleep on it. And that recruiter called him and texted him and emailed him and said, you're a fool if you don't take this job. I need to.
Oh my gosh.
I know. You need to make a decision right now. And he called me practically in tears. He was 26 years old. He was like, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? And I said, no, you are dealing with a jerk that starts with an A and ends with something else. You know, not okay, not acceptable behavior. No. Do not let anybody bully you into taking an offer until you sleep on it and you review it line by line and you come back. And so, you know, if you're dealing with a recruiter who is just aggressive, rude, blah, 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 I'd say ditch them. But Catherine, what if it's an agency recruiter and the job opportunity is at a company you'd love and you're not going to have to work for that recruiter? Then what? Should they throw it
Just suck it up.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Just suck it up. You're going to get rid of them soon anyway. Who cares? Like just and deal with the hiring and deal with the hiring manager as much as you can, and the company HR as much as you can if that's the case. Yeah. So just cut him out of it.
Here's what I did with Eric. I was like, no, you're going to not respond to the jerk. Let him freak out, blah, blah, blah. You're going to go to the hiring manager. Yeah. So I told him to ignore the recruiter and go straight.
Yeah, just ignore him. Manager. Now, I am going to play devil's advocate real quick here. Now, I'm sure this is not the case with your guy. It sounds like this recruiter was unprofessional anyway, and you should never be spoken to that way. But I've been on the other side of that, where we discussed everything. I asked the candidate flat out, what do you need to accept an offer? They thought about that, got back to me. I get an offer letter that is 100% what they wanted. Oh, I got to talk to my spouse. Why did you not already do that? We went through this whole thing. So candidates, the other side of it is help yourselves a little bit. Okay, guys, like talk to your spouse. When you get to that kind of the final stages and you know when the final stages are, start talking to them. Go, is this really something we want to do? Yada, yada. There's nothing wrong with, by the way, I just want to specify, I don't mind an overnight. I've had candidates that are like, I need like 48 hours. I need the weekend.
Yeah. No.
Why?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
ridiculous. Like, come on.
but Catherine, you're a good recruiter. You are a
Well,
good
yeah.
recruiter,
I
asking the money questions and all of the
right.
other negotiables throughout the process. You're not waiting until the witching hour. So
No.
all the recruiters that are rookies, that are brand new at this game, if you're waiting until the end of the hiring process to ask about money and stuff, you're going to end up with candidates that stall you for days. So that's
Yep.
your fault.
Yes, yes, it is 100%. You should be having that conversation early at the end of the initial phone call.
Yeah.
That should be a conversation. So real quick on that note, problem solving, right? So that's our whole theme this time is problem solving. So when you get this bad recruiter, right? And it could be in the company, be an agency recruiter, if you still decide that you want that job, which if they're agency, it really shouldn't deter you at all. If they're inside the company, maybe so.
I'm with you.
Yeah, maybe that might be a little telling. But if you decide that you want the opportunity, here's what you need to do. You need to start setting the pace. Don't wait on them. Go, okay, so we're at this stage. All right, I need to get you this information so we can get this offer letter. Here's everything that I need. Bam. Say, I have to put in a 2-week notice. You want me to start in 15 days. So I need the offer letter tomorrow so that I can get that in so I can meet your deadline. So kind of take the bull by the horns and just start steering that process a little bit.
Absolutely. And you and I have both helped people get multiple job offers doing this strategy all the time, you know. And you'd think, well, why would a recruiter help people get multiple offers? Because we want you to say yes to our offer and we want you to stick. Here's what we don't want. We want you to evaluate if you are like, you know, I've got 2 other companies that are chasing me. All right. So why do you want those offers? And really pushing you to evaluate this company versus the other 2. You want to get multiple offers at the same time so you can make the decision and go. What Catherine doesn't want is to place you and have you quit in 2 months because one of the other companies popped. That is not good for anybody.
No. And I will say too, guys, if you are experiencing something negative with HR, that really does tell you something about the company. There is no HR is terrible, everybody else is great. No, because let me tell you that half of what HR does is dictated by what everybody else is doing. If they're taking forever, they're having to wait on other people. If they're snooty, it's because that's the company culture. Okay, there is no, this is HR and this is everybody else. HR is the representation of that company. It's just like if you wouldn't do business with a company if the sales guy is rude to you. Right. So
HR is the sales guy. They are the face of the company.
Yeah, it's true. When on the recruiting side of it, yes, absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So we've kind of talked about, so that's kind of some ways to spot some craziness. Look for rudeness, look for delays, that kind of thing. And when you're looking at job postings, look for the companies that are being as forthcoming as possible, that aren't trying to kind of snipe some things in there and be sneaky with you. Look for that kind of thing, and look for companies that match your values. Guys, look for companies that match what you believe in. Okay. And it's really easy to find that out. Get on their social media, get on their website, that kind of thing. Find values. So let's talk about your topic, crazy bosses, and how to spot them and how to deal with them.
Before we talk about Crazy Ray, I actually have a freebie for everybody about how to spot company culture before you sign on the dotted line. So I can put this in the chat and you can share it however you want. Hopefully I can chat. Let me grab. Yeah. So it's 11 questions they can ask during the hiring process to figure out if it's a good match for values, if they're going to be happy there. So there, I just sent that to Nina. So Nina, that's a freebie. There we go. And Nina's going to put it.
There we go.
Yeah. So I built this 11 questions to ask to help you during the hiring process to come across as professional, enthusiastic, and prepared, but to get at the heart of the company culture and the management style. And will you be happy? So there you go. Merry early Hanukkah and Christmas, everybody.
No,
Now,
and you do need to have those kinds of questions. 100%. You need to be asking cultural questions, things like that, not just about the pay and all that, because that's not ultimately what's going to keep you there. It's, is there opportunity for growth? Am I going to be getting raises, and what is the plan for that? How is that handled? What is your policy about internal growth and education, that kind of thing? All of those things need to be asked and understood.
yeah.
And their ethics. Do they share your ethics? You don't want to be in a company that's Christian based if you're Muslim, and or, I mean, maybe you do, but I mean that may not quite work out.
Listen, a friend of mine worked for a company that was all about we're all Christian, and those people were doing all sorts of crooked things.
It's true.
It's like dirt. It was a staffing firm, and blah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Yes. So dig in, and don't just take, as she's saying, don't just take a face value and some just one statement and say, oh, well, this is the company culture.
But let's also say you also have to be careful not to just take what one friend says. I do want you to go out and check out Glassdoor so that you can ask better questions, but you've got to be very careful about rejecting a company without snooping it out yourself. I quit a job after 3 months. Speaking of bad bosses, I quit a job after 3 months because it was so bad. My husband looked at me after 4 weeks and he said, I don't know who you are, but I want my life back. You've got to quit that job. So I did. I quit that job and got a better one. But a buddy of mine called me 3 months later and said, hey, I'm interviewing with this company. Should I just ditch them? And I said, no, wait a minute. What's the position? Who's the boss? What's the job? And I said, I will tell you honestly why I hated it, but you're you, I'm me. You're at a different stage of your career. He was new to recruiting. I'd been in it for years. So I advised him to follow the interview process through. And I had a couple of hard questions to ask. He took the job and he was there for 6 years and he got promoted twice.
See, it's just different strokes for different folks. And plus, if they get rid of a problem person, that can make all the difference. All the difference. So crazy bosses, let's talk about it. Because this is something, even in the interview process, and then once you're there, that people are constantly having to deal with. So let's go. Let's hear it. What do you got to say, lady?
Okay, first of all, a bad job is bad for your health. So let's cut to the chase. You are worth it, and you deserve to have a job that you feel good about going to every day. If you are getting berated, treated like dirt, undermined, lied to, you got to get out of there. Now, whether or not
lied to, yes.
Now, can you afford to cut cold turkey? I don't know. Do you have money in the bank in this job market? I'd like to have you have another job lined up before you jump ship, but sometimes you got to get it out of there. So a bad job is going to cost you 41% more in healthcare costs, twice the rate of depression, stress, disease, heart disease. It's bad for you. So bad bosses. Let's talk about why basses become why basses. We don't want basses as a boss. That would not be helpful. No basses as a boss. I would argue that if somebody's a rotten boss, they're in the wrong job. They're either in the wrong job or they're in the wrong company culture. I've had bad bosses who were jerks because they were working for jerks.
That's true.
So if you've got a bad boss, I recommend you first take a step back and say, define bad. Are they hardcore with the numbers? Well, maybe that's not a bad boss. Maybe you're in a sales job and you have to perform to succeed. Maybe you're in the wrong job. Maybe it's not the boss.
Yes.
Maybe you're in the wrong job.
Yeah, totally. It happens. Real quick, we have a question. What do you say in an interview when you talk about a bad job that you left?
It's a tricky one.
I like that one. I like that. You can take that one first. Let's see what you've got to say about it.
Okay, so you had a bad boss. What do you say? A couple of thoughts. You have to figure out how to answer this before the interview. Yes. So when I'm prepping people for interviews, you've got to take the time to ask yourself, what's the job? What questions am I afraid of? What are the things I really hope they don't ask me? And practice answering those scary questions. Now, if you had a job that you quit or you got fired or laid off, squeezed out, and it was really a bad situation, you're going to have to unpack that baby. You are going to have to open the closet, let the skeleton out, let it dance its crazy dance, and get really honest with yourself. Why was that job so bad for me?
Yep.
What was out of my control? What was in my control? What lessons did I learn? So you got to do this self-discovery and then figure out how to package it. You should not air all your dirty laundry in a job interview. And if you'd
No.
made a stupid mistake, we all make mistakes. You
Hmm.
don't have to talk about that in the interview. So you got to figure out what to talk about that's honest and believable, but probably not the whole story. Because if you worked for a
Right.
terrible boss, you might have done some things you're not proud of. So you got to figure out how to answer that question.
Yes. And one thing too, guys, I just want to add on to that real quick is don't trash the old company. Okay. That is
Whoa.
imperative. Even if they were awful. Okay. I want to make this real clear. It doesn't matter if the truth is that they were just despicable, because I have seen that, but it's not going to help you in an interview. So what I would say in that case, let's just say the company was just god awful. Just say, you know, I got into that position and there were some great things about the job that I liked, but the company was just not the right fit for me.
Yeah.
Culturally, I just could not, just couldn't click. So I decided to go ahead and step away. There you go. They will get the point. Okay. They'll understand. If they want to probe, they might, but start with something like that. It gets the point across, but it's classy. If you were fired because you just weren't good at the job, because it happens, guys, you'd be a great employee. You could be a great employee in so many roles, but sometimes you just find something. It's like, well, I just stunk out loud at this, it's okay. So you just say, I got in there. I gave it my best shot. They tried to find something else for me because I was a great employee, but it just didn't work out with that job. So now I'm pursuing other opportunities that do highlight my strengths.
Yeah. And so the formula, that's what we want to hear on the hiring side of the desk.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know, are you self-aware?
Yes.
Are you lying, or are you kind of owning your piece of the pie here? Just tell me quick and dirty why you left the job and what lessons did you learn? And so you sandwich, here's why I took the job. I was really excited. I loved this, this, and this. Here's this one thing that just was not a good fit for me. What I learned is that this is a really good fit, and then flip it forward, which is why I'm excited to talk to you, Janine, because I think this role with you is a great fit for me and blah, blah, blah. So quick, and then flip to the forward. Here's why I'm excited to talk to you.
Yes, 100%. And when you've had a bad boss, a lot of things will kind of trickle down. So do just kind of hone it down to be something simple. Do not drone on and on about it. Just precise, just be real precise.
And so bag it, like bad mouthing your previous employer. You've got to not do that. And the thing of it is, if you don't deal with the baggage and face the story and face the pain, it can be almost impossible to keep that negativity out of the conversation. So you got to deal with that over here. And in all seriousness, Catherine, sometimes bad bosses, I went to go see a psychologist 3 times because of a really bad boss.
Yeah, it happens.
I needed somebody to help me sort through it and figure out I'm not nuts. She's really aggressive and hard. So don't go do that. Talk to somebody. Let somebody help you sort through it so that you don't dump all that baggage in the middle of an interview.
100%. And even into your next position, you got to back off. So when you're in the middle of dealing with a crazy boss, and there's so many different kinds. But the most common kind, I think, is you get the ones that just are unreasonable. There's just, they don't want to hear, well, this is reality. They just, oh, well, I want this result. Okay. Well, for instance, I've known several sales managers that would say, well, our goal is we have to have 300 closes by this date. Well, all of our leads stopped. So how would you like us to accomplish that? Well, you just need to go out and find people to sell to. Well, I'm sorry, that's not how that works. That's going to take more time, and it's going to take a while to self-generate. That's not going to happen. That's a completely different process than having inbound leads coming in all day. It's unreasonable to ask for the same number of closes, right? So the unreasonable boss, I think, is the most common crazy boss, and they don't think that they're unreasonable, and so they just they keep demanding these ridiculous things. How do you deal with that, with the unreasonable boss?
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's, let's be honest, most of the times, bad bosses, it's in that sort of gray area. And it's not that they aren't good at driving the ship, it's communication.
Yes.
And so, for instance, I just mentioned Crazy Ray. I mean, he used to get so angry, his face would turn purple. He'd be spitting on us.
Oh.
He, and you know what? He was in the wrong job.
Yeah.
It was, you'll appreciate this. It was a global consulting firm, high pressure, pressure cooker,
Hmm.
agency recruiting, and our clients would demand 3 top candidates in 24 hours. So it was a pressure worker, pressure,
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street kind of pressure
Hmm.
cooker. And he just wasn't built for it. And so it got him all worked up. And while we were on the recruiting and sales team under pressure for our numbers, he was under pressure on the consulting
Hmm.
side for numbers and margins and everything. And so he would just attack.
Yes.
And it was always somebody else's fault. So what I had to do with him, you asked me when you asked me to come on the show, you're like, when should you go to HR? Well, I don't think you should go to HR first. I think you should try to
Hmm.
solve it on your own first. And you're probably going to need to go and ask somebody you respect
Yes.
for some advice to help you sort through it, figure out what are you really upset about? What are some possible solutions? Talk
Hmm.
through it, then sit down and approach that person and give them a chance. Give them a chance. I
Yes.
actually, I mean, my recruiters used to call me the Rottweiler because I would defend them and I would stand
Hmm.
up for them. But I went and sat down with him and I timed it. I caught him on a day when the office was quiet and we didn't have a lot of fires. And I sat down and I
Hmm.
said, hey, can we talk about how to work more effectively together? You know, I've been
Hmm.
thinking about, we're in this pressure cooker. We are all under pressure, brings out the worst in all of us. This isn't working. I have some ideas about how we can do this differently. What do you think? And
Yes.
he was a
Yes.
he was a different man.
Hmm. Collaboration.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I never took him to HR because I was able to solve it on my own. But
Hmm.
sometimes you're going to try to do that, and they are not. I stayed in one job despite a difficult boss. I quit 2 others in my career. Those 2 others, it was untenable. It
Hmm.
was unmanageable. One of them was a harassment situation.
Oof.
There was no
We'll talk
way.
about that in just a minute.
I went to coworkers for support and they laughed at me. And I was
Hmm.
20 years old. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't manage it on my own. And that boss was full of just manipulating the situation. Anyway, so I
Hmm.
quit. Sometimes going to HR is the best thing that you can do.
Yes. Sometimes it is. It
Yeah.
is. And depending on who it is doing what,
Yeah.
that may be your best bet. And sometimes, by the way, guys, it's not that you need to pull somebody else into HR. A lot of people don't realize that. You can go to, don't realize this. You can go to HR and just get advice.
Yes.
Just say, hey, I'm
Yeah.
having this issue. How would you go about it? How would you deal with it?
Yeah.
And if it's a true specialist, trust me, they will have some really good advice and some really good ideas for you. One thing, so you touched on harassment, and that is something I wanted to dig into. We're going to dig into a couple of unpleasant topics here, real quick. Okay. First of all, sexual harassment happens on both sides of the fence, guys.
Yeah.
This is not a man problem. This is a
Yeah.
people problem. Okay.
Yeah.
It is more common that a man would do it. It's just, for all the reasons that we could sit here and go into, but it does happen very often too on the other side. Believe me, I have seen it quite a bit. So, and sexual harassment is not just, a physical touch, or that's actually sexual. That's actually assault, by the way. If you touch a person, that is assault. It's not just something gross that somebody has said. Sexual harassment can be that you are constantly talking about a person's gender, okay, and making it an issue. I recently had a friend reach out to me and she said, my boss just makes everything about me being a woman. And she didn't understand. She's always been a top performer, just a kick-ass woman. I mean, I would hire her for anything. I mean, literally, she's great. She's really, really good professionally. And she goes, he just won't drop that I'm a woman. It's always coming up. It's because you're female. Oh, this is because you're female. Oh, this. She goes, I don't understand it. And she goes, and I said, well, that's a form of sexual harassment. So I gave her some ideas as to how to handle it. And she picked one and it worked. And hers was, she did kind of what you did. She called him aside. She goes, hey, look, dude, like, I'm not going to make a big deal about this, but I need you to cut it out because you're undermining me on the floor. So just stop, please. Thank you very much. And very polite. She made it, she was like very nonchalant. She's like, hey, dude, like you're kind of undermined. That's not cool, dude. Come on, help me out here. Followed it up with an email because you want to document everything. And always BCC your personal email when dealing with this kind of thing. That way you have a record no matter what that company tries to do. You have a record that you did address this. So anytime you're going to go talk to somebody about something like this, follow up with an email and BCC your personal, BCC, not CC, BCC your personal email, and then save that email. When somebody is making it all about your gender, and I've seen guys go through this, especially guys in female, typically female fields. They go through it a lot. Yeah, they really do. And you can deal with it in a couple of ways. Okay. You can do what that friend of mine did, where you just go in there and you go, okay, that's not cool. Let's, I get it. You're just being funny or whatever, but let's kind of cut it out. And then follow it up with that email. You can go to HR if you feel like there's no way this person's going to handle it right. Like if they're just a super aggressive person and they've given you, and you've seen them do crummy things to other employees, you may want to go direct to the HR. But I'm going to give you my little tip. I have had people make things about my gender my whole career. You're too loud. You're too this. You're too that. What makes you think that? I've had literally men look at me and say, what makes you think as a woman that you can talk to me like that?
And I've had women tell me I'm too loud.
Yes. Yes. I've had women do it too. Yeah. And I have had guys that felt like it was constantly appropriate to hit on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, my whole adult life, I've been in a relationship. So it's like, come on, people, but anyway, so that feel that it's perfectly appropriate to constantly hit on me, comment on my body, that kind of thing. My approach is super assertive, bordering on aggressive. And I call them out and make fun of them in front of everybody. I shut it down. I had one guy and he pulled this, he said something about my body. And it was the umpteenth time he'd done it. And I just turned around and I said, what makes you think that you have any right to talk about my body? I was like, look at how pathetic you are. And I just went on and I went off on him. I shut him down. I was like, what the hell is wrong with you? And if they're body shaming you, by the way, go off. Let them know. And if a guy is coming at you and he won't stop asking you on a date, turn around and go, what makes you think you could ever get with me? Look how sorry you are. I would never want you. Get it. Be real aggressive about it. Embarrass them in front of everyone. Trust me, it will never happen again.
Yeah, if they're
ever.
They deserve that. I also want to say, I hired people from all over the world. So I've got I married somebody from another country. So a lot of cross-cultural experience. Sometimes people don't know that they're being offensive. Now,
that too. Yeah.
For Pete's sake, that's unacceptable. If they continue to you after you've said no. But sometimes, and this is that gray area, I want to just ask everybody to, before you assume the worst about race, gender, religion, discrimination, I just want you to give the person a benefit of the, unless they're a complete jerk, just take a step back and say, I wonder if maybe you don't intend it this way. There are generational differences. Somebody might be older gentlemen will compliment and say, gosh, you look so pretty today. And the hair on my neck goes up. But they're actually trying to be friendly. And, they're my dad's generation. So just before you attack, just ask. But if it's publicly shaming you and embarrassing you, that's not okay. Stand up.
No. Now, if it is something, and even especially with some of the gender issues, for instance, a lot of men don't realize that constantly bringing up your kids is something that puts you down in a workplace, right? A lot of guys don't realize that. And so just kind of go, hey dude, let's, kind of lay off that. Don't tie everything back to the fact that I'm a woman and I have kids. Okay. Like I like my kids. I want to talk about them, but it doesn't need to be part of every conversation. The racial equality issue. I had a friend of mine who is Black tell me, he goes, I always give people the benefit of the doubt. I just stop and go, look, I know you, I know your heart, but that really wasn't cool. And here's why. And he does it privately. He just goes, just
Yeah.
so that you know, I know you didn't mean it. Here's this, and just has a conversation.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that
Yeah,
what they're saying is offensive.
they don't.
People,
We could talk for hours about wake up, people. It's time to
yeah,
wake up
hello.
and pay attention to the look on the person's face. If their eyeballs pop out of their head, chances are good you just said something offensive. But
Yeah. But the point is, yes, have a human element on both sides, right? Have a human element. And like, I joke about everything under the sun, but I know that my sense of humor is not for everybody. So I filter it when I'm around certain groups, especially in a professional setting. I filter that very, very much. And make sure people, another thing that happens a lot is, and this happens, actually, I've seen a lot of bosses do this. I knew a great boss, actually, in general, a phenomenal human being and a great manager, but he kept insisting on leading prayer every day at the office. And this was not a Christian-based company. And don't get me wrong, I'm very, yay religion and all that kind of stuff. But it was very awkward for some people. They're like, but I don't want to do that. That's not what I do. And so it just kind of forced, and he didn't mean it as anything. And he would also tell people, God bless you, and not as when you sneeze, just in general. And it made some people really uncomfortable. So we just, like you said, had a meeting and go, like, a few of us kind of went, hey, just so you know, that's kind of bothering some people. We all know you don't mean it. We all know you're just sweet guy and that kind of thing. You're just trying to tell us that you care about us and you want us to be happy and well and all that. But please don't do that anymore.
So
yes.
What about in a hiring process? Let's talk about what to do if you're getting inappropriate questions.
Oh, yes.
Behavior when you're a candidate.
Yes.
What do you suggest people do?
Oh God. If they're a candidate and they're getting it, run. Run the other way. And now there are some things, again, the human element. There will be some things that people do not realize that they're being weird or rude.
Right.
Okay. And I will tell you this, ladies, if you have a giant basketball pregnant lady tummy, just go ahead and address it. Okay. What? Everybody knows you're going to have a baby. Just talk to them about your plan for maternity and how you're going to set yourself up for success and how, don't worry, I'm going to make sure the workload's taken care of. Yes, I am growing a human. It will not stop me from being a good employee. Hey, don't worry.
I was in that toxic job and my husband said, you've got to quit. And I said, I've only been here for a month and I'm pregnant with our second child. I can't quit. And he said, that's why you have to quit. And I said, how am I going to get a new job pregnant? And he said, of course you're going to. And I owned it. And I wore flowy clothes. And then, I was 6 months pregnant. And before they extended the offer, ripped open the flowy clothes and said, yes, this is a baby. I am growing and I am going to take maternity leave. But here's what I'm going to do to absolutely knock these numbers out of the park. And they hired me. And
exactly.
And they let me take 3 months maternity leave.
See? Hey, and I tell you, and we had a comment from Mark saying, moving to a new country, you really need to take this subject seriously. Yes. Think about the new country and their culture, and even, like, let's say I lived in Miami for a while, right? And you could interview with people from all over the world there, Russia, Colombia, Haiti. I mean, you name it, they're just everywhere. Cuba. And all of the countries are different. Everybody had different customs. And if you're going into a company that has a certain culture, you need to consider that. And the other way around. So if you're interviewing a candidate who is new to the country, embrace that. Ask them, say, hey, how are you liking it here? What are some of the differences? What's going on? Kind of make it a fun little conversation. I love to talk to people from other countries.
I do a talk. Have a little fun with it.
Technical difficulties. There we go.
So anyway, you've got to just ask. If somebody does this, you say something, and somebody does this, check in and say,
oops.
Looks like I might have said something off there. Did I just say something offensive? Check in.
Oh, so we just had a great question, and actually, I'm going to I'm going to bring on our next guest for this one too, and then we'll say bye to you. I promise you've been on here for so long. But Sophia asks, what do you do when somebody who's not your boss keeps making inappropriate advances? Do you talk to your boss or to HR? So first of all, just shut them down publicly. Just be brutal about it. If they won't stop, because it's one thing to get asked out. That's okay. If somebody asks you out once, that's how the human race continues. Okay, guys, don't be offended by a one-time thing. Okay, but if they, before I go, thanks, but no thanks. No, not going to happen. And be clear that it's not going to happen. Say no, thank you. I am flattered, but no, that's not going to happen. If it continues, make it real clear. Make it real clear. Then if it keeps going, then you want to go to your boss first. I would say. What would you say? Boss first.
I know you got to get with your next guest. HR is wonderful, and most people get into HR because they care about human beings, but you need to remember where their bread is buttered. They are the company, and their job is to protect the company. And so sometimes you get phenomenal HR people who can advise you and guide you confidentially. They're not all that great. And so I like the idea of try to handle it yourself directly, and then go to the boss and ask the boss about how to handle this. And hopefully you got a good boss who will handle it confidentially, and then go to HR. And just know, when you elevate it, when you escalate it, you now have a situation and you might end up getting squeezed out. You need to understand that.
Yes. So that's why I try to handle it myself. And that's where that advice of make it public and make it funny. And just like, no.
They'll cut it out.
Trust me, they will. All right. Well, Kat, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us. Bye. Bye. And now we're going to welcome Michaela. There she is. Hello. Now you really look like me today with the glasses.
Oh, I didn't have that going on.
And we had another question real quick. It said, hi, how to find the good person to understand a company you want to work for. You know what? Contact me on LinkedIn. And first of all, connect to both Catherine and I. Catherine Byers-Breed will drop her LinkedIn into the comments. Connect to she and I. That's a one-on-one kind of question. Reach out to me after the show. I will definitely be glad to give you some advice on that. So connect to me, Catherine McCord, connect to her, and also connect to this crazy lady that's sitting next to me, Michaela. So real quick, Michaela. So you're a much sweeter person than me. We've established that over the years. And you also, because of your degree and all of that, you certainly have had to talk about sexual harassment and things like that over time. So what would you do if someone who is not your boss will not quit asking you out and or harassing you? What would your take be?
Well, I've actually had this experience before at a company, and honestly, what y'all discussed, sort of that chain of command, is exactly what I did. I took it to my boss. Well, honestly, I sought consultation first, and I spoke to some people that I knew. My mother does HR, mom does HR, and so I spoke with her. So we get some consultation, but honestly, I did exactly what y'all discussed. I went to my boss. Well, first I spoke to the person and tried to resolve it there. Did not work. So I then went to my boss. And if that hadn't worked, like if you have a boss, person in leadership who is not being a leader, then you would take it to HR.
Yes.
Then, that's how I see it.
And by the way, guys, that is exactly what our mother would tell you to do too, is to follow that, who is an HR professional, has been for many, many years, to take that chain of command, because then it lets them know that this person is not stopping. And yes, it really does need to be dealt with. It gives them a pattern and something to really work with. Whereas if you come to them the very first time something happens, it's kind of, unless it's very severe, if it's very severe, go straight to HR, do not wait. Make sure that you are safe and that type of thing first and foremost. But if it's something more minor, like they just ask you out, don't go to HR because somebody asked you out once. Okay, that's ridiculous. Wait, tell them no, and then do the chain of command. That's your best bet. Okay, so Michaela, you are here for a whole other subject, happier topic. We're going to get happy here.
Well, I thought that was part of it, is the issues in the workplace. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So, but let's talk about my favorite topic. So one of the things that Michaela and I are both very, very passionate about is having a healthy work environment, right? And having a happy work environment. That's something everybody wants. And a lot of companies work very hard to establish. And I had a client a while back, one of my first clients, when I started branching into recruiting and merchant services, called Payscape, wonderful company. And they allowed dogs in the office. In every one of their locations, they had dogs in the office. And I think one cat. I think there was a cat in there somewhere too. So he was a pretend dog. He was just he had an identity crisis. So so that kind of thing can really be levitating, and a lot of people have mixed feelings on animals in the workplace. But I wanted to ask you your opinion as somebody who has majored in psychology, is now majoring in counseling. What do you think?
Well, I have decidedly mixed reviews on this, mixed feelings, because I love animals. That's what I do with my counseling, is I really want to specialize in animal assisted therapy, as you well know. And I'm actually, fun fact, I'm actually starting that for the first time this next week with the therapy dog that I have. He was cleared to come to work with me, so
yay!
Doing that. My first of all, the good part. Let's talk about what would be very beneficial. First of all, dogs have been proven in multiple, almost really countless studies to have a significant correlation between reduction of stress and just dogs in general, and having a relationship with dogs and having animals in general around, but especially dogs. So having dogs in the workplace then would significantly reduce stress, and I would guess, and you may be able to speak on this since you work with Payscape, but I would expect to see a lot of increase in work. Really?
Yes, and you do. And I actually know I did this with a team of mine. I built out a whole recruiting team in Miami, and I would bring in the dogs, and sometimes I would let other people bring in theirs too. I would say, yeah, go ahead and bring them in. We would have the most productive days because people would stop more and take those little breaks, and they were more relaxed. They weren't so stressed out, and production would actually skyrocket. Having these little four-legged creatures wandering around. I can't have like a yippy dog or something if you got to be on the phone. That's kind of counterproductive.
One of the concerns. Yeah, that's one of the concerns I would mention, as well as just having how well trained are the animals. That's the other concern.
Well, right. But overall, I give it 5 stars.
Well, yeah,
I love it.
If it works and you don't have yappy dogs and you do have dogs who are well behaved, and here's the thing. The one thing that I would mention is that something that could work if you're worried about people bringing their own personal dogs in for that exact reason. There are so many therapy dog teams. Pet Partners is a national organization, and they have branches.
Keep talking.
Yeah, that's fine. And they have branches in most cities, especially major cities. So you could easily bring a branch of Pet Partners and just have a therapy dog team come in and visit your workplace. That would be something that would be.
All right. So what I did when I just got up is I went and got a little animal. Hello, this is Livy. This is Olivia Bear Kitty Cat. And she has always been part of the show. Just most people don't know it. She's always here sitting with me, hanging out. My dog has joined the show several times, of course. And Livy works with me every day. She hangs out. She's part of some of my meetings. She's very opinionated. She has a lot of very fascinating things to say during my meetings.
It makes me feel calmer just seeing an animal. It really does. Even just putting Livy on the screen, I'm like, oh, she just looks soft.
She is, and she's always and she tends to know when to come over and get her pets. She just knows mommy needs a break, but hello, mommy needs some relaxation, that kind of thing. As you know, and as I've talked about a little bit on the show, I have a seizure disorder. And I also have a dog. He's not in here with me at this very moment, but that is trained. Well, not really trained. It's actually his instinct to come stand next to me and help me out whenever I'm having an episode or about to have an episode. And he just understands. Oh, and yes, Siamese cats are my favorite too, Don. Thank you. We had a comment. And so having him around is very helpful for me, and is something that has become just part of my my everyday existence. So these little guys, I know a lot of people kind of want to think about more traditional ways to up culture, but I want to take this time to encourage everybody. I've seen it help workplaces. I've seen the difference that animals can make. Really consider having an office pet, even if it's just one. It's a really, really good idea. Ooh,
Please,
she tried to take off my headphones.
But yeah, no. Honestly, please consider that option. Even like I said, even if you're just bringing one therapy dog in a day. I remember before COVID hit, and I was still able to go out with my therapy dog and visit places.
Mm-hmm.
There were times that we'd actually be sent to like other places than the main hospital. Like there are sort of like branches that don't see patients. They just sort of like work in an office setting, and we went and saw them. And
Yes.
oh my gosh, they got so excited, and they told us how happy they were. It really makes a huge difference. And I can't imagine being able to have just a therapy dog there every day for people.
Yes, or even once a week, just something. Yeah, something that people look forward to. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what else? You were going to talk to us today. You're pretty excited about your topic today. So what information do you have for us today?
As far as more about animals or just issues in the workplace in general? Okay.
Workplace in general.
Because honestly, I got on pretty early, and I was listening to Kat and everything she said. And honestly, what a practical conversation and just phenomenal resource. I was highly impressed. And a lot of what I heard, especially when I first got on, was politics in the workplace. And
don't do it.
Yeah, because when you're talking about problems in the workplace, I think you've got to address workplace politics. And I think that anytime you have, especially multiple leaders, so multiple people in leadership positions, you're going to have political conflicts. Because what you have are people conflicting to achieve power. And
when you say political, I just want to be clear. You're not talking about external, like countrywide politics. No. You're talking about company politics.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about even just like little, dog daycare centers or something that can have multiple leaders and there's political conflicts, or even big corporations have political conflicts in them.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm talking about, just the whole range, the whole spectrum. And the issues and the division that can create, because I don't like the word shouldn't. I really don't. However, I'm going to say that leaders should not engage in political type issues, because it detracts from the whole point of being a leader.
100%.
And if you can't tell by my inflection, I'm extremely passionate about this topic. It creates a lot of division where leaders are supposed to create unity in order to perpetuate workplace production. Leadership is supposed to be a very selfless position. However, what I've seen a lot, and the stories that I've heard from multiple locations, and what I know you've seen a lot, Catherine, are leaders who are selfish, and have a lot of self-centeredness. And I'd love to know what you've seen and like what that creates.
On the positive side, I'm actually going to start on a positive here. One of the best managers I've ever known is actually now my COO, Joel. You know him very, very well. And just a little bit. And he always did this thing where he would go out and sit with his people on the floor, no matter what else he had going on. He would go sit with them and listen. And if he heard a problem, he'd go walk over and, how can I help? What can I do? If he knew somebody was behind, he would start helping them with their tasks. Because why? It's going to help the whole group if he does that. And he led them in a way that was from the front and very much an attitude of servitude. And what can I do to make your lives better? And that was one of the best examples I ever saw of management. And his team loved him. And by the way, followed him. He had people that followed him to multiple jobs. That just same people just kept going.
Well, of course they did. Leaders are supposed to hold the lantern. They're supposed to be at the front leading other people. And that means if someone falls in your team, you go back and help them.
Yes.
You don't just keep moving forward or like, oh, good Lord, reprimand them. I mean, if you have an employee who is obviously like just way behind, and you've tried and tried, that, it's still, you don't want to be crappy about it. But you're doing
Sometimes you just got to make a decision, and that's okay. but but yeah, but I've also seen a lot of people that a lot of managers, and one in particular, in fact, I will give a very specific example that anytime, 'cause one of the jobs of managers is to filter, right? So whatever's coming up from the executive team, they filter that down to their team and they give that information.
Right.
But especially in a smaller company, because entrepreneurs, and I know because I am one, can get very passionate and sometimes blow up because they're just, it's everything is on their shoulders, right? That's not for the employees to have to deal with. Okay. The employees should never have to deal with that. This particular manager would just go tell the employees all the things that the entrepreneur just said and scare the crud out of them. And then when they were slow and dragging, never went out on the floor to help, never did anything. You know, it was a sales team. When the sales went away, like when the leads went away, it's just like, you just make excuses. You just go to, oh, well, they can't because they don't have leads. Never thought to try to find new leads, or never thought to try to train his people a different way to get the business in. It was just sitting there. And so it was just ridiculous. It was just a complete lack of servitude, like you said.
Well, and that's why it's so important to invest appropriate time in finding good leadership. And that is an investment. I know it is, and it's worth it.
Yes.
That is something that you cannot sacrifice, is your leadership team.
100%. And you also should not promote somebody just because they were good at the past job. Okay. That's ridiculous. Just because, and folks, I'm going to tell you this too, because a lot of candidates need to hear this too. Just because you're the top performer does not mean that you should move to management. Those are two completely different skill sets. Now, you should be given a raise. You should be promoted in some way, shape, or form, maybe like a team lead position, something like that, or a senior type position. But just because you're good at one job does not mean that you will be good at management. Not the same thing.
Yeah, I heavily agree with that. I know I actually sort of spaced there for a second because I was like, there's something else I wanted to talk about. And it sort of goes with what we were discussing. And it's like one of the other, I actually looked up, like, I had some ideas of like issues in the workplace. You knew I wanted to address workplace politics, but there was something else that came up that I wanted your opinion on. Okay. And that is interpersonal conflict in the workplace. That was one of the leading issues. In fact, I think it was the leading issue in the workplace, because like things like communication problems, gossip.
Yes,
bullying,
that is the number one. And you are 100%. It's the number one problem in the workplace today. In terms of employee relations, and people think employee relations is an employee to the boss or an employee to the company. No, a lot of employee relations is relating to each other, right? So first, and yes, Ira, one of the best things about working remote is less office drama. 100% with you on that. That's part of why my whole team is remote. But no, it's that's so true. And a lot of it is that you need to give each other grace. Okay, like Kat and I were talking about, give each other grace. Have an understanding that maybe what that person did that rubbed you wrong, maybe it was just a misunderstanding, and just take a second, breathe. Yeah. Put yourself in their shoes, sit down with the manager, tell your manager, you know what, I don't need you to say anything, but just kind of be here and bring that person in and just have a conversation and just say, hey,
absolutely.
And yeah, just have a facilitator. Gossip, things like that.
But I do.
Okay. Real quick on this gossip issue, because I get real tired of the gossip issue. That was a pet peeve of mine as a manager. And I will kind of tell it myself here. I didn't handle it the best. I was kind of brutal about how I handled it. Because I would just tell people, if you do it, you're gone. Because it's so toxic and it's so painful, and it is something that will break a person's spirit down. And most of the time it's completely unfounded. So just don't.
Well, and one thing that leaders, I'm going to go back to leaders real quick here. One thing leaders can do is build your team. Do some team building exercises, teamwork. And I'm not talking about the corny, like, oh, let's do a trust fall. Please don't.
Yeah, please don't. I will fall.
I can just feel the eye rolls happening for the people who are watching. Don't do that kind of stuff. Like I was talking to my boyfriend the other day, and he was saying that one of the things that he works for a phenomenal company, and one of the things that they do is they all just go out to lunch. Like their managers and leaders will just say, "Hey, let's all just go out to lunch and do this, and just have lunch together." Because doing even simple things like that, having office parties, because you're going to start building relationships with people. So that's just one thing.
All about relationships. And real quick, I want to bring on, because our next guest is Ira Bauman. I don't want Michaela to go away yet. Let's bring on Ira also.
Thank you for letting me stay.
Yes, you can stay for a little bit. So Ira, let's get. And by the way, guys, my screen is frozen, so I don't know if a guest is on or not. So you guys are going to have to say something to me, so I know if you're here.
Yeah, he's here.
All right, hi, Ira.
Just so everybody knows, it's Bowman, but
Bowman. I know. I keep saying Bauman for some reason. I'm sorry, but yes, it's Ira Bowman.
Look, I mess up stuff all the time. It's funny because my wife was listening. We share an office, and she was listening. She's like, Bauman. Yeah, I get a lot.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is? I had an employee that's how they pronounced it. So I guess that's just,
I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio for a few years, and in the phone book, there was 2.5 pages of Baumans or Bowmans or however you want to say it. But you know, I'm sure that there was both, because like you spell it a million different ways. And
that's why everyone had to be unique, because there's just so many of them.
I want you guys, the audience, to look at the variety of glasses that we have. Just
I know.
Yes. We're a good-looking group.
Look, no sexual harassment here, ladies. I was watching the show too, so but the glasses are phenomenal. I really like the variety.
We did good. We've got
the classic. We've got the contemporary as can be. Although I was on, in full disclosure, my wife took 3 of my kids to get their eyes checked yesterday. So I was buying glasses last night. Some of the contemporary stuff is like way out there. Like, more like something you
it is
for a basketball game than I don't know.
Yeah, I like my more like old school classic. Look, I don't know what happened when she
gone. That's okay.
Yeah, Catherine's like, I'm trying to think of like what she brought you on for. Oh, hi, there she is.
I wanted to get my screen working again.
I don't remember the question.
What do we do?
I quit you. I didn't want to listen to Ira anymore.
I answer questions live twice a week. So I'm like, I don't need to do show prep for this. I'll handle it on the fly.
No. Yeah, but you're good. So Ira, I want to ask you something. Sure. I have a question for you, because we're talking about this workplace drama and all this. And you're like me. You like the remote thing, because then you don't have to deal with all that kind of thing. But when you are in the office, and by the way, guys, I'm going to throw this out there. Ira is one of like the biggest hearted people. Like he may literally die one day because he's overworked himself giving back to other human beings. Like one of his whole jobs is stuff he does for free for people, just helping people. And that's Project Help You Grow, and totally check it out, by the way, if you're a job seeker, trust me.
It's not a great return on investment for money, but for, people call it karma. They call it reap what you sow. I heard what you guys were talking about with the religion. I get it, but people have different ways that they express that.
Right.
I believe if you do good things are more likely to happen to you. So that's one of the reasons I like to help.
That's
people.
right. Right. But so anyway, the point is, you're a good dude.
Thank you.
So when you're in the workplace, and there's just this toxicity happening.
I've had this issue as an employee and as a manager.
So as a manager, how did you handle it?
So
as a manager,
usually when it's the management, when I'm the management and I'm really a referee, I tell people all the time, okay, in full disclosure, I have 8 children, so you don't have to worry about me asking you out on a date. 8. So people used to ask me all the time, they're like, okay, what made you better? Was being a parent more helpful in being a manager, a successful manager, or was it the other way around?
Ooh.
Did a manager help you be a better parent? And I think that actually there's a bit both ways. Okay. So for office drama, especially if it's in my department, I was pretty good at weeding it out. It was a little bit harder. Yeah, out. We could talk about how. But when it's someone in my department and somebody outside of my department, then it's much more of a challenge. And when it's two people outside of my department, then we just try to kind of like.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't HR. So I'd have to,
right.
I'm talking about, I was a sales manager and a sales director, right? And then for a while, I was in charge of a sales or service team as well.
So how did you do it?
I had people,
when you're in your team. Let's be real. That's when you're
in my team, both in my team, and I think that's probably the most helpful thing for people watching. So in my team, usually because salespeople are peacocks, right? But there's different types of salespeople. So there's introverts, extroverts, and this is an issue that I had. I had an introvert and an extrovert, and the introvert thought the extrovert was basically a giant peacock butthole. It was a little bit too cocky, like, hey, I'm the number one. And he was like, I'm looking at my numbers and I'm looking at your numbers and I'm kicking your butt, dude. You know what I mean? So there was friction there because sales is competitive. So what I did is I sat him down and I said, look, actually, both of you have your strengths and both of you have your weaknesses. And when I'm trying to figure out which prospect to give somebody to, I look at how I think you're going to gel personality-wise. But I said, let's air this out. I know you both want to be top, and that's great. I don't want you either to lose that, because the minute you lose your competitive edge or desire to be great in sales, you're going to probably fall, right? You have to push hard. And at the end of every month, we start over, which is hard psychologically for a lot of people to deal with. But I said, look, you guys you don't have to be friends, but you should respect. And that's what we did.
Yes.
Professional strengths. So let's look at them. I'm going to tell you as your boss, I respect both of your skill sets. Person A, here's what I respect about you. Person B, here's what I respect about you. Now I said, can you guys look at each other and list one thing that you respect about the other person? They did that. And then before we left, we were all laughing. We went from animosity and serious. Like, I used to think they might fist fight. Both of these dudes were bigger than me. I'm 5'8". I'm not a big guy. Okay. So I'm like, I don't want to be in the middle of this mountain fight. You know what I mean? Like,
and no, it's so true, but I like that. But Caleb, what do you think about how he handled that?
I think that you'd make a great family therapist.
With 8 kids, I think so.
My family.
Well, it's really unfortunate that in the workplace, we've got to do things like have conversations with people about how to just respect each other. Unfortunately, we do. That's something that has to consistently happen, unfortunately. And what went through my mind is I remember when I was in my family therapy course, the theory I presented on, actually one of the things they would do is actually the guy who developed the theory would actually like have like foam bats that they could just beat each other with.
Oh, I like that. Wait, can we put that in an office setting from now? Wiffle bats. Just
that would probably not be good.
It would not be good. It would not.
Nerf guns now.
There you go.
That could be.
I did that.
Those don't.
I did that. No, I did that.
About
pillows, because you feel like you're in more control of pillows. You can like
no. Pillows are not good because then you could like knock off glasses and stuff like that. Don't do that.
Nerf guns then.
I did, those little things where you can like squeeze their tummy and it's like a little animal or something. You squeeze it and a little foam ball shoots out of it. There's no way that's going to hurt anybody. I got you one. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
There's no way you could shoot that at a newborn baby and it's not going to hurt them. Like, I mean, don't. It's kind of rude, but don't do that. But you could. The point is, it's not going to hurt. And so maybe that's the kind of thing you could have, like as a therapy tool for your staff. To just shoot that. I did that. I got one of those for one of my staff members who was having a problem with this guy who actually trained her, and he just got, like you said, Ira, like he got real competitive with her and just like real intense with her.
That's more common than not. Press it or not, as soon as somebody gets any recognition, everybody else is like, why not me?
Yep. Yep. So first of all, managers spread it around.
Right. Employee of the month, you win it 11 times. The 12th time somebody else gets it, you're going to be pissed that it.
Yep. 100%. So yeah, I got them I got the foam ball for her. Whenever he would be grumpy with her, she'd go shoot him, and it made him laugh. And then they were, and he would realize
for them. And I was very impressed with, all joking aside, I really was very impressed with the way that you discussed bringing their strengths. Like this is what I respect about you. This is what I respect about you, and bringing those strengths together and helping them see the humanity in each other and seeing that it's not black and white. It's not that he's just bad or she's just bad. It's that we're human. And I think that was a great way to handle that situation.
Well, I deal with this with my competitors. So I run Bowman Digital Media. That's how I make my living. Where we make visual communication tools, websites, videos, that kind of stuff. There's a million other companies that people can go to. I run all kinds of events. So on Tuesdays, I have speed networking with Mike and Ira. We have other media companies, the owners of these companies on, and I give them the spotlight, and I even encourage them to put their links to their website, which is my competition, so everybody can see them and check them out. And people are like, privately, why do you do that? Why do you even let them in the room? Like, you know why? Because they offer something different than me. There's plenty of potential customers out there, and there's plenty of vendors, and I'm not so insecure that I can't have, somebody else say, hey, we offer video creation, or we're a WordPress developer, or whatever. It's like, that's fine, advertise it. But it catches people off guard because they're so used to the, I've got to protect what's mine. And I saw so many people that I managed with that mentality. It's like, no, just work on yourself, work on being better yourself.
I am highly competitive. I am like brutally highly competitive, but I've always tried to at the same time encourage other people. I've trained other people how to do what I do, that type of thing. And that competitive nature is still there with me, but I try to make it fun now and kind of silly as opposed to the like aggressive thing, because ultimately, guys, you're all working towards the same goal. And that's what you have to remember.
Well, I think
same goal.
Ultimately, people have to remember you go into work to make a living, right? So you're not there. Like, if the person next to you is making $1 an hour more, this is why we don't advertise what people get paid, right? But if they're making $1 an hour more than you, really, what does that matter to you? As long as your company can afford to pay your check, whatever you agreed to work for, you should be fine with it. But people get so competitive, like results, like promotions, like recognition, awards, whatever. I just think that management needs to help do some pressure releases. I don't know that pillow fights and shooting people is but I'll tell you one of the things that I would do. I would try to praise them all the time in the public meetings. So when we had our sales meetings, try to compliment them. And I didn't like say, okay, this is my time to compliment you now, but I would work it. It's amazing what a compliment will do to help people.
Yes.
And I don't know if you noticed, I like to use humor. I'm a humor guy, because humor helps to lighten the mood. And also, sometimes I would tell my employees, I would let the owners know, like, there are days I'm going to tell them to go home. And I'm going to say, you've got your work done for the day. You're having a bad day. Why don't you just go home? And they appreciate that, because sometimes we have life pressures that are outside of the work, and they're affecting us at work. And you can lose the whole room because of one bad apple.
Yes.
So sometimes you just like, you know what? I'm happy with what you've done today. Why don't you take the rest of the day off? And the first time I told the owner I was going to do that, they looked at me cross-eyed, like, what do you mean? I'm paying that guy.
Oh, yeah. No. I used to do mental health days. I used to tell my employees, you get 2. And as long as you're not like leading a presentation that day or something like that, you can take it at any day that you want. Just call me and go, I'm not feeling it. It's not going to happen today. Yeah. and just don't come in.
I do a show at 6 a.m. on Wednesdays, and it's too early. And I'm like, today my eyes didn't even want to open, and I should have.
Yes, you should have just taken a mental health day. I'm telling you, it's imperative, and the grief process is another thing, and stress and all that. And so, one thing we talked about earlier, don't talk about politics, like external, like U.S. politics or your country's politics at work, right? Don't do that.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about the things that are going to divide people. Now, I will say this: as you become friends with people, and this is where there's a little bit of a gray area. In a one-on-one session, like as a manager, I'm not bringing up politics or religion at all. Now, if you start a conversation with me privately, I might talk with you a little bit about it. But if you're coworkers, if you're peers, so you're even ground, right? No manager subordinate type thing going on. Somebody says, hey, I noticed that you read your Bible at lunch. And they want to talk to you about that. Me personally, I would do that.
Right.
But I'm not going to, like, as the manager, you were talking about somebody started the day out with a prayer. Yeah, that's not good.
Don't do that. And it was, again,
that's a great way to get sued.
It is first and foremost. You can totally get sued.
They'll sue you for breathing out here, right? So you got to be super careful, but you can't do that as a representative of a company.
Right.
I mean, there are companies, if it's a Christian organization or something like that, you could do it. But for the most part,
I wanted to get both y'all's opinions. I'm going to start with Michaela on this one. So we very vehemently said, do not, as a company, discuss these things. Okay. Just do not do it. It is not smart. You can get sued. It doesn't make your employees feel comfortable. Don't do it. Mm-hmm. However, there are a lot of things going on politically right now that have people scared. And we're not going to talk about whether it's valid or invalid or anything like that. Just, it is fact. Okay.
And I think that's always true. There's always something.
But right now it's a little bit more like in our faces, right? It's like, it's right here. And part of that's because of COVID. We're all just sitting around staring at the screen all day. That's not helping, right? But we're all staring at Ira and Catherine talking all day. But it is true. So I think my thought is that it makes sense for companies to not talk about the issues specifically, but to say, hey, if you need to vent, if you do need to talk to somebody, I know one company, I thought this was genius. They brought in a psychologist and just had the psychologist there and was like, if you need to take a break and go talk to them, everybody here is entitled to 30 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. Here you go. Go do it. As much as you can get the appointment.
Earlier, Catherine, you were talking about mental health days. That's one of the best things you can do for a company, as well as if you can't bring in a psychologist or a counselor or a therapist,
right?
You can always find some to suggest and say, hey, here's someone you can go see. Here's the price ranges. They'll work with you on a sliding scale, because a lot of us do. You can use, there's so many interns who are desperate for hours right now. You can always do and bring in low cost counseling for your coworkers. Catherine, I think that's a great idea.
And not just real quick, Ira, and just not just that, but also giving people mental breaks and saying it's okay to say, I am so grumpy today. Like you were talking about that person that was having the bad day earlier, Ira, you gave them the day off. Mm-hmm. Giving people that. And folks, you need to also take responsibility for this too. If you're in a job and you're the employee and you're having a bad day or you're grieving because somebody passed or something like that, know when you need your breaks and ask for them. But Ira, what are your thoughts on allowing for mental health type breaks?
So, depending on the size of the company, it would be really tough, Michaela, for them to bring in, unless they could find somebody for free, which is cool. But it's hard for a lot of people. They don't even know where to look.
Well, right. Yeah.
I found a guy, now he's my connection on LinkedIn now. His name is Professor Pete Alexander. He has a website. I put it in the show comments if you want to put it live. But what it is, it's hundreds, not just one. It's hundreds of 2 to 3 minute videos that are stress relief tips. Mm-hmm. And all kinds of different, there's some exercise, breathing, mental, but you know what I mean? It is amazing. He did one today. He posted on LinkedIn about listening. Mm-hmm. When you're listening and not cutting people off or just, waiting to say the next thing, but actually listening, that shows people respect. It is amazing what would happen in corporate America if peers would listen to peers, if managers would listen to peers, if owners would listen to their staff, just to feel like you've been heard.
Yes.
It's amazing validation for people. It lets them feel like, okay, even if nothing changed, I didn't change a dang thing because I can't, but I just heard you. And I would bring people into my office all the time, once a week, and we would have a conversation, and the door was closed. Mm-hmm. closed door meeting. I said, in this room, you can say anything you want. You could even cuss me out.
Mm-hmm.
No reprimands, no write-ups. I said, the minute that the door is open, you're going to show me respect because you're respecting my title, not necessarily me, the person. But in this room, when the door is closed, you can let it all out. And I wanted them to if they needed to vent. Because like that pressure cooker, even if you just let the steam out, you know what I mean? It's not going to pop. So
it's the same. And I did a similar thing too. I would tell people that come in, sit down, vent for 15 minutes, and then go back to working and just get it done.
I do need to say one thing though, Ira. You said that you couldn't change someone that way, but actually what I want to say to you is, that actually does.
I'm saying that you couldn't change the policies that they're frustrated about. For example,
I'm going to give you a compliment actually, because what you're doing by just listening to somebody is supporting them. And a lot of times people don't have that support to just be listened to non-judgmentally.
See, that's what I think it could fix corporate America.
Yes.
It could fix corporate everywhere. But if you had more owners listening, if you had more HR teams listening, if you had more directors, VPs, I mean, talking about people that usually, and I hate to say it, but they feel like they're too good to talk to you. You're walking by them and they don't even look you in the eye and say, hey, So I learned this. I learned this a long time ago. Publicly praise, criticize privately. So in those meetings I was talking about, and in even that setting where I have two people that are having an issue, I'm not going to criticize either one of them. In that setting, there's three. Now in that one-on-one meeting later that week, I might have said, hey, you could have been a little nicer to Joe or Jack or Steve or Betty or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you do it one-on-one and you listen. I like that key, listen. And we're going to have to wrap this session up because we got to move on to the next guest. But guys, that was wonderful. And I think that it's a important topic to talk about, listening and acknowledging, that people are all human and giving each other grace and all that. So thank you both for coming on and talking to us today about these things. Bye. Thank you. Problem solving is crucial. And that is part of it, is listening and having conversations. So we're going to bring on our final guest, Robert Watts. Very excited to have him on. Had a very fascinating career, and he's now, hi, Robert. Hey, can you see us? Robert. I don't know if he can see us. I don't know if he knows that he's on. Robert. I don't know. He's working on his technology, so we'll just talk him up a little bit. He has worked on an amazing product that is an accumulation of his multitude of experience working with companies and in management and collaboration and that type of thing. And I think that it's absolutely spectacular. Thank you, Ira. Again, he just said thank you for having him. Thank you so much. We're very excited to have Robert on to talk to us. Can you hear me, Robert? Can you hear me? Hi. Can you hear me? He can't hear me. All right. So you still can't hear me? Not hearing them. Okay. So we are, maybe if he took off his headset, I don't know. Nina, you might want to work with him on that. But so essentially when it comes to this, while Robert's working on his technical issues, guys, when we're talking about, taking this time and listening and all that goes two ways. So if something is going on at work with your manager, with your coworker, that type of thing, step aside, stop and think of the other side, give that person some grace, don't assume the worst, and just sit there and process it, then schedule a conversation with them. Sit down and just go, hey, let's talk this out. This is what I really respect and like about you. This is what I want to get back, and just kind of have a conversation. And it's a really good idea sometimes to have a third party to kind of facilitate it, but it's really a conversation between the two of you. And a lot of times it'll work better if you start doing that with your manager as opposed to HR, because going to HR feels like you're about to get fired to a lot of people. It automatically makes them apprehensive. So start by trying to fix it yourself if you can, and just have a one-on-one. Then if that doesn't work, get your manager involved and let the manager know, like, I'm not wanting you to harp on them. I just want you to kind of facilitate a conversation, kind of help this go a little bit better for us. Kind of focus on that. See if you can kind of resolve the problem that way. That's so important to do. To just really take that time and give each other grace. Let's see if we can get Robert working again. Let's see. There he is. Hi, Robert. Can you hear me this time? Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, we can.
I can't hear.
Unplug your thing.
I'm on a
take it off.
wireless headset.
Yeah, take it off. I don't think he knows. Oh no, poor Robert. But anyway, guys. So what Robert's done, I'll kind of start to tell you a little bit. Oh, did that help?
I don't have speakers for this. I don't have speakers in my computer.
Oh no. That's all right. And that's not working. All right. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to give Robert one more chance to kind of try to figure out the technical issues. But I'm going to kind of tell you what he was going to talk about. So Robert has this really great technology that he's built out. And kind of the whole idea is bringing together a team and using technology to kind of bring together a team. And this isn't a promo for his product, by the way. I'm kind of going somewhere with this. But one of the biggest problems that we have in an organization is that it's almost like an us versus them. So you always hear of like the sales versus service battle, right? And so it's sales versus customer service, and sales does this and service does that. Whereas we should all be working together. And we talked about Joel earlier, who is now the COO for Titan Management, which is my company. And he's been a manager for all different kinds of organizations, from moving organizations up to financial organizations. And one of the things that he was very good about was unifying those groups and getting everybody to work together. And one of the things that he would do is that he would give them activities together to bring the social aspect, right? And then he would actually have them help each other work on different issues. So if there was a problem with a customer, he would have the sales and service people work together so that they could better understand each other. And then the salesperson would go, oh, I shouldn't say that, or I should add this to my repertoire so that then this isn't a concern down the road. And the service person would go, oh, sales really is covering that. This customer's just confused. And then they wouldn't have that animosity. So he was very, very good at unifying them. And that's kind of what Robert's product is all about, is unification, right? And bringing the teams together, because the biggest problem you can have in an organization is for everybody to feel pitted against each other. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for like sales competitions and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. That's just competitive, healthy stimulus of the environment. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, make sure everybody remembers that they're on the same team and that they're building that culture effectively, working together as a team. That's absolutely imperative. And when you're job seeking, that's exactly what you should be looking for, is a company that does something like that. A company that says, yes, we're going to, unify. We all work as a team. This is how we grow together. This is how we accomplish our goals together. Look on Glassdoor, look for a lot of comments about teamwork and things like that. That's the kind of organization that you want to be looking for. LinkedIn is another great resource to be able to talk to people, that type of thing. And Nina, if you feel like Robert's technical issues are fixed, you can bring him back in. That is entirely up to you. I will leave that up to your discretion. But that's just one thing I did want to really talk about today, is the importance of searching for a company that makes a culture the focus. Okay. It should be, and I don't mean culture like, oh, we like to have lots of parties and we're so fun. That's great. Okay. That's a wonderful thing to have. But I mean, the day in, day out, how are they building you up? Is there an opportunity for you to receive education or to go to conventions or things like that? Is there an opportunity for you to work interdepartment, to go from department to department and kind of work together? Is there opportunity for you? Is there a plan in place for your advancement, for your raises, things like that? These are very important things to understand when you're job seeking, and very important things for you to understand as you grow. So just as you're, anyway, I'm kind of rambling now, but as you're job seeking, make sure that you're paying attention to these types of things. Make sure that you are looking for the cultural match and the specific opportunities to advance. Okay. These things need to be in place. Don't let a company tell you, oh, yeah, you can advance here. Okay. How? What does that look like? And if they kind of stare at you blankly, go, okay, give me an example. Is there somebody that you can think of off the top of your head that started as a receptionist and moved up to sales director or something like that? Just kind of get a feel for what that looks like within the organization. That's a very big part of finding a new place to work, right, guys? So again, I just want to kind of tie everything together because unfortunately, I think that Robert's having technical issues, so we won't be able to have him on today, which is most unfortunate. But I wanted to kind of rehash kind of what we've gone over today. So as a job seeker right now, what you need to be doing, get creative, okay? And if you missed Kat's section with me earlier, Catherine Byers-Breet, go back, watch that segment again, really pay attention to it because there was some great information in there. So as you're getting out there, that we're coming into the slow hiring season, okay? Things are going to slow down. I wish I could give you better news. I know, guys, you're going, come on, it's COVID, and I've been stuck unemployed for so long, and I'm so tired of it. First of all, landings are happening. People are getting jobs. I talk to people every day that are like, yay, victory, I finally got a job. It is happening, but it's going to slow down for a little bit, okay, guys? With the election, with the holidays, it's just going to happen. That's just normal. So what you want to do is go ahead and get creative, okay? Don't be like the other job seekers that are going to take the holidays off and go, I'll get back to it at the New Year's, because what's going to happen is at the New Year, that market's going to be saturated, okay? So do not do that. Do not do that, okay? Get creative, send out your e-cards like we talked about, go to events, get your wingman to go to networking with you. Again, go to the earlier segments to get the specifics on that, but do that kind of thing. And make sure that you're doing your homework on your organizations, okay? Make sure that you're getting to know these companies and paying attention. And another thing that will really help you guys is to only focus on the companies that meet your goals and your ideals. Find companies with which you align naturally. For instance, I love animals, so I've done work with companies that focus on animal activism in their charity work and things like that. So I love sports. So I once worked for the travel partner to the Dallas Cowboys because I'm a big Cowboy fan. And yes, I realize that's a little bit embarrassing right now. Do not care, but go boys. But just do things like that. Work with companies that excite you. Work with companies that feed your needs and your soul. That's what you should be targeting. Spend your time there. You'll have a higher chance of getting that job because you can make that personal connection. Okay. That's kind of, are we going to try Robert again? Robert, can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Yay, Robert can hear me. Yay, we get to talk to Robert after all. Hi. Nina, she's great, man. I tell you what, she keeps us rolling. So I was kind of introducing you a little bit earlier. So you've had a wonderful career, kind of consulting and helping teams grow and helping companies find their culture and actually do something with their culture, right? People think that having a culture is just this thing that we say. They don't realize that it involves actions. So kind of the first thing I wanted to ask you about, because this is our problem solving episode, right? Turning your culture into actionable items. What difference does that make in a company?
Well, it integrates the work with the culture, and it empowers, right? And so then people understand how it relates to what they do every day. So it makes work meaningful, purposeful. It gives people a sense of empowerment,
yes,
and esteem. It lets them know how they affect the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And the key significance is that people understand that they're part of the shaping process. And so when we're talking about culture, you got to talk about shaping it. You have to mold it. Cultures have to be developed. So, even any kind of culture, corporate culture or ethnic culture, whatever.
That's true.
So
Mm-hmm.
you look at the artifacts of a culture to understand it, right?
Right,
So
100%.
That's what shaped it. So
yeah, and I think too, I would think that making your culture, putting action towards your culture, would also lower some of that workplace drama we were just discussing with Ira. And kind of get some of that down. Have you found that to be true?
Well, of course, but it gives the drama some boundaries to operate. So drama is okay. I mean, we watch TV and movies all the time. We love drama. So nothing wrong with drama. If you don't have drama, then you're a dead species, right? So
it's true.
So, but the drama has to be studied, So if you got the drama, then why did the drama occur? Where did it come from? What is the etymology of the drama, right?
Right.
So my platform, for instance, traps all those experiences for you, so you can be referential, so you can study those dramas and give meaning to them and use them for learning. So,
can you use a specific example of a time that there was a drama that was studied, and then how that was able to help with the organization?
Yeah, and that's what my career is all about, right? So,
right. But a specific story. Do you have a story for us on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, organizations traditionally will hire me to come in to do intervention, and I usually work at the management and executive level. So we're talking about some executive whom employees no longer want to work with, or a union doesn't want to work with anymore.
Right.
Their people are complaining about this person being unfair. You're speaking to people in ways that make them uncomfortable, or dominating the work and not delegating the work, whatever the themes might be.
Right.
So that in itself creates the drama, because the drama is really about how the players respond to the issues,
right,
from their own self-reported perspectives.
Very true.
That's the key part of it. We're all self-reporting out of our own perspectives.
Right.
And traditionally, the schisms that are created are creating the drama, because the drama becomes an entity different than us.
That's so true.
Right.
It's so true.
Right. So I'll get called in for those reasons, and then my approach is show me the artifacts of the drama. Right.
Yeah. No, it's true, and I think too. Like you're saying, it all kind of feeds off of each other, right? And as human beings, a lot of people don't realize that it is biologically programmed into us to create groups, right? And to want to be unified to each other, right? It is just biologically, as even an introvert, it's just true. You want a connection, you want to belong in that. So I think that taking this information like you're doing and making it into something that is quantifiable and something that will help people unify and come together, and creating a culture with action and helping everybody understand their place in that culture is really important. And even you and I have laughed about the horrifying aspects of most companies' onboarding processes or lack thereof, right? So you get this job, you get hired, you're like, woo, I finally got a job. And then you get there and it's like, did y'all even know I was coming? Like, there's no computer. You don't know who you're working with. You don't know. You're just kind of stuck at this desk and told to sit there and wait half the time. So, or you meet a bunch of people and then what? And then now you're just sitting there going, okay, now what? So ideally speaking, Robert, how do you tie all of this into the onboarding process, and what should candidates expect from an onboarding process from a good company?
Well, the first thing that they need to understand when any organization is, what is the culture? What's the fit?
Right.
What are the things that are valued? Where are we going?
Right? Yes. Yeah. The objective. What's the objective?
Where are we going? What do we believe? What is the DNA around belief?
Yes.
In this organization. And so, in other words, what do we value? And what's the mission? What's the purpose? Why are we here? Why is it important to come here every day? What contribution am I making, and what contribution am I making to what?
Yes. And so, all these things need to be explained to you.
Absolutely.
In the interview process and in onboarding.
Yeah. Well, on the onboarding, you're showing the alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that right, then people will have a sense of self-governance. So if I can show you the alignment between the culture and what you're going to do every day and integrate those, the culture and the technical side of your experience, then we can create a life place as opposed to a workplace.
Oh, I like that. A life
Yeah.
place as opposed to a workplace. I like that.
Yes, because you don't stop living when you go there to do what you do. It's a
That's true.
continuation of your life. But
Yes.
we have a tendency to think that life stops when we go there, right, to this
Nope.
place. But it's a life place. You go there to continue living your life. But it gets difficult to do that when everything is compartmentalized into some kind of, metric cultureless reality. Well,
Yes.
but the metrics have to be merged with the culture for
Yes.
people to know what the onboarding should mean to them.
Yes.
And who they're, and then the second part of that is, who am I connected to in the system that are what we call APF, accountability partnership functions. What functions exist in the system that allow us to partner for success together?
Yes.
So my platform as a entity partners with you and then facilitates you partnering with other people so that you can have healthy experiences and healthy culture shaping.
And everything is very harmonious, like you said. For instance, my role when I go in and I'm helping recruit is working with. I have to work with the other recruiters. I have to work with the hiring managers. I need to work with upper level management. I need to work with the financial department to understand budget and all of that type of thing, payroll, all of these things. I touch all of those areas just with handling my little job. So you're right, there is definitely a harmony, and it's much better if that's firmly established, and if it's something that is encouraged, and if those relationships are utilized as opposed to seen as blockades. Because I've gone into companies where they almost treat it like these people are your enemy. You got to work against them. You've got to. In fact, I actually walked into a company and they told me that. They said, these guys are just going to try to make your life difficult. You just need to do your job anyway. I said, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Wow.
And so what I did is I went and I talked to that department. I said, hey guys, what's going on? What's up? Why is this not working? Why is this happening? And it was the people that handled onboarding for a very specific account. And we were recruiting us. They handled the onboarding, and it was just a mess. It was just a mess. And so I went over there and talked to them, and it turns out that they weren't being given what they needed. There was all this stuff wrong. So we fixed that. Poof. Now everybody works together nicely. Very simple. Just needed to be fixed. So it was a matter of conversation, right? Yes. And like you said, just creating that unity and understanding we're all working towards the same goal. Because it doesn't do me any good to get these people in here if you can't get them started to work.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's completely dumb. So in order for me to do for me to be effective and this to happen, you just got to come together like that.
Can I interject something there?
Yeah, do it.
So like what we talk about in our platform, SOIG, SOIG, we talk about taking your static models off the wall and put it into work, shaping healthy culture and growth. And what you just described was the aspect of what we do. And that is that one thing is to show people what the values are, get them connected, but then you got to give them a means by which they can communicate.
Yes.
Right. So that's what you did. You went in and started communicating with people around something that was relevant to them. So, so in our platform, we create like what we call strategic contextual space. So that in that space, you have parameters that are relevant to everybody, where someone can come in and talk about what they do.
Yes.
And those people that are invited into that space are connected according to their goals with each other.
Yes.
So now it becomes a relevant dialogic space that is contextual, right? So you just did that in real time in person with somebody.
Yeah. And
we created a virtual example of that, right?
So what Robert and I are telling you guys is you need to go into a conversation like this, a relationship like this, and don't say, I need. And by the way, that doesn't work in any relationship, okay? Ever. Does that ever work? Just go me. I need. Go in there and say, okay, here's the goal. What do we all need to be doing to get it done? And if something is broken, how do we, not you, not me, how do we fix it? How do we get in here and work together and make this better? That kind of mentality is what gets things done. If you just go in there and make somebody feel bad, or if you just go in there and point fingers, or if you just demand that it has to be your way or the highway, it's never going to work. It is not going to work. So you need to work together.
The autocratic approach never works.
Nope.
In the short run, you might get some gain, but over time, it won't succeed. So we say two things. Our platform is based on a foundation of it based on the book I wrote. People are never the problem. So people are never the problem. Right? People have problems. Sometimes organizations have problems, but people are never the problem. The second part of that is that, you have to teach your course.
Mm-hmm.
So if your organization knows what it's trying to do, then it should teach that to the people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so then when everybody's doing that, then what we do is create a culture of reciprocity. And so then everybody is getting nurtured. So we spell the word team with an I. I used to be a professional athlete, as a football player with the Raiders and the Saints. And so, when you're growing up, all you ever hear from coaches is no I in the word team. No I in the word team. And I go, well, I'm here. Right? So, so we do spell the word team with an I. And we say that the SMART goal, and when you spell out a SMART goal, the SMART goal is relevant because you're addressing goals, and they should be relevant to people that are fulfilling those goals, right? So of course there's an I in the word team. It's how the I learns to collaborate, cooperate on the team. Mm-hmm. That's what's important. But if you dismiss the I, then you don't have teams, right?
Right.
So that's like counterintuitive to say there's no I in a team. That went out with Frederick Taylor and the Industrial Revolution stuff, scientific, stuff. So we're talking about a new age where people do matter.
Yes.
We're not perfect, but we do matter. And how we partner with each other and help each other with our problems helps us to become more valuable to one another.
100%.
So silos are good. You gotta communicate out of the silos. Right?
That's right.
But silos have cultures. So you don't want to kill the silos. You want to learn how to communicate across the silos.
Right. 100%. And I want to thank you so much for coming on today, Robert. Guys, you definitely need to go check out with Robert, connect with him. And companies, if you're looking for somebody to come in and help you out with some of these issues, or if you just want a platform that will kind of handle it all for you, I've seen what he does and it is amazing. You definitely need to check it out. We will drop his link here in the comments. Definitely connect to him, connect to me, Ira, Michaela, Kat, everybody that's been on today. We all love to help people. We're all here for you. If you have additional questions for us, definitely connect and reach out. If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, whatever you got going on, reach out and connect. And thank you again, Robert, so much for coming on with us.
Thank you for doing this for all of us. And so I can say to the audience, whoever you are and wherever you are, be safe, please.
Yeah.
And take care of yourselves. Wear a mask, please. And enjoy your holiday season, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Robert. All right, guys. So we're going to wrap up. Again, connect to all of us, please. We all are here for you. We will answer your questions. We'll reach out to you if you need us. And if you're, if you're just kind of struggling and you just need somebody to listen to you for a bit, I get it. And if I am available, I'll help you out. If Michaela's available, she'll help you out. And if not, man, I've got some wonderful resources. If you're looking for a career BFF, somebody to go through this process with you, I know some amazing human beings that will take you all the way through the job search process that are going to be there for you. They're going to cheer you on. They're going to show you the best practices. Wonderful, wonderful people. Connect to me if you want some intros. This has been a great show. Thank you to all of my guests. It's my first time doing it solo with no guest co-host. So I'd love feedback on that from anybody that was in the audience. Let me know what you thought about if you prefer the co-host, if you prefer it to be just me, whatever you think. I will not be offended, I promise. Again, everybody stay safe, be smart, and we will see you again in November. Oh, and happy Halloween. Bye.